Will it be easy? No, it's not easy. Will it be hard? Yes, it's going to be hard. But here's the deal. It's going to be so worth it because you're going to be proud of yourself.
Welcome to Retirement Revealed. I'm your host, Jeremy Keil, and we're here to turn your retirement savings into retirement income. Today, we're talking with Derrick Kinney about going from middle class to millionaire. Derrick, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's great to be with you today.
Yeah, glad to have you on. I don't know anyone that wouldn't want to go from middle class to millionaire, but I'm curious about your own journey. How did you come across this concept? Maybe tell me a little bit about yourself. I'm assuming maybe you did a similar journey.
I did. Actually, it's a personal story about me. I grew up very, very middle class, probably lower middle class. And I didn't know it at the time, but I saw my parents working hard, but they struggled. And it seemed like their friends worked hard and struggled as well. And the process continued on and on. And when I went to college, I got a degree in communication and I took a couple finance classes. And I realized I really liked money and I liked managing money and investing in it. I was fascinated by it, this whole concept that you could invest it and your money could work for you. And I became a financial advisor primarily to help people like my parents who I saw struggling and want to provide for their family, but didn't know how to have the retirement they wanted. And so as I built that business over 25 years, I helped a lot of people really live my story, and that is go from middle class to millionaire. But what I realized was there's this perception, Jeremy, out there, and I know when you work with your clients, you do such a great job. But a lot of people feel like there's people that have the combination to the safe that has all the secrets to financial success, and then everybody else. Many people feel like everybody else is running a marathon and they're still tying their shoes, right? And what I found was there's this pocket of time, I call it the sweet spot solution. And it's a catch up strategy, about a 5 to 15 year window where people who haven't saved and want to save suddenly have the ability to save. And things like they're about to pay their house off, or their son or daughter is about to be out of college, or they're about to be out of credit card debt, or suddenly they have this window of discretionary money and they've got this decision to make. Do they keep spending it to buy things they don't need to impress people they don't even really like, or do they come up with a strategy to save money and catch up on their retirement? Now, it may not mean they retire at 65, but maybe they have a phased in retirement or they begin to work part time, but it gives them hope. But it all starts with that goal of here's what I'm going to do, and here's where I am right now, and what are the next steps I can take today.
Yeah, I like how you mentioned this 5 to 15 year window. I think a lot of people that are listening are within that 5 to 15 year window where they're looking at retirement. Might happen, might be soon. A lot of people, I talk to them, they say, well, I'd like to retire today if I could.
Right.
But more often, right, you've got, and even then, if you want to retire today, is that an option? But this planning ahead, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years ahead. It's funny how you mentioned that it's this natural window. I found that too, where a lot of people call me because their kids just graduated from college, just graduated from high school. All of a sudden they have finally time to breathe and think, okay, I'm going to retire in 5, 10, 15 years. Maybe I can finally take care of something for myself instead of somebody else. Or maybe it's time now to stop worrying about college savings and start thinking about retirement savings. So when you're talking to these folks that have this window, like if they're just looking at the beginning of this window, what are some ideas you might have? How would you suggest that they go about planning out their finances?
Well, I wanted to come up with a website, and what I landed on was the term anyone can become a millionaire. So anyone can become a millionaire.com. And the whole point of that is I wanted to let people know that they can do it. Wherever they're at right now, they can't let bad decisions direct what their future can look like. And one of the things that I will tell people is, and this is what helped me help probably thousands of people around the country go from middle class to millionaire, was I developed what I call the 5-step millionaire money map. 5-step millionaire money map. And step number 1 may sound so basic, but I'm going to tell you why it's so powerful. And that is set 3 personal goals and set 3 financial goals. Ideally, if you're married, do this together. And what I would ask you is, have you ever seen Super Bowl winning coach stand at the podium at the end of the game and they're asking questions. And did they ever say, well, my secret to victory this season and why the team did so well is we just kind of just ran around. We didn't really have a plan. We just did whatever we wanted to do and it just happened to work out for us. Said no coach ever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then think about your favorite actor or actress with their Academy Award in hand on stage, thanking people, saying, I got to tell you, I didn't read any part of the script at all. I just winged the whole movie. And luckily, it all worked out for me because people loved it and they went to the movie. Said no actor. So, what we know is that when you have a goal and a plan, especially one that's proven and you execute it well, there's a high level of potential for success. And so, what I would tell people is, how bad of a person would you be in your family if the whole family was excited about this family vacation you've been talking about for months, and then the morning came and they were like, hey, where are we going? Well, I don't know. I just thought we would talk about it and we would just kind of figure it out this morning and just drive wherever we go. I mean, they would probably try to kick you out of the family, for goodness sakes. But how often do people do that with their financial lives? Especially people who, as you talk about and you specialize in, Jeremy, people in their 50s and their 60s looking back on, I wish I could have done things differently, but that's in the rear view. And we focus on the windshield, what is yet to come. And so, what I tell people is when you set a goal, suddenly now you have a purpose and you know what you want. Because, and this is interesting, psychologists tell us that the average person experiences, get this, 3 to 4 crises per year. It might be a family member, a parent, the AC went out at the house, a problem with your kid. And those are the normal things that happen in everyday lives, interrupted by the occasional emergency. So now, oh my gosh, the car doesn't start. We've got a credit card bill, whatever it may be. And so life is just this series of ups and downs. And once you begin to accept that is just how life goes, it makes it a whole lot easier. And so what we find is when people set a goal, they tend to make more progress toward it because they're making choices every day about is this a required purchase or an optional purchase? Do I really need this or do I just want this? But the main thing, Jeremy, that I found in working with so many people around the country is if they do one thing with their goals, it dramatically will increase their success. And what it was is they need to tie what's at stake to that goal. In other words, what terrible, no good, very bad thing could happen if they don't achieve that goal? For example, if I don't save for retirement and achieve a certain amount of savings this year, that could lead me to not be able to chase my grandkids on the floor and be the cool grandparent because I don't have the money to travel to go see them. Or it could cause me not to walk hand in hand with my spouse on the beach and feel the kernels of sand between my toes because I don't save for my goal today. You see, when you can tie the goal to, my gosh, here's what's at stake if I don't do this, it makes it very, very powerful. And then if you're married, talking with your spouse on a regular basis, having that monthly money date to then go back over the goals and reaffirm, I know it's hard, but we're making progress and celebrate that. Those are the ways to really have the cheat code to catch back up financially.
Yeah, you've got some great ideas here with taking 5 steps towards becoming a millionaire. If you're sitting around thinking, why am I not a millionaire? Well, start with step 1, right? It's a good place
Right.
to start. And I like what you said, where it's not just, okay, I want to have $1,000,000 or I want to have this. Tie what's at stake, make it real, make it really matter. We had Dr. Daniel Crosby on the show. He's a psychologist. He's famous in the financial advisor world
Yes,
for
yes.
tying psychology to money. He likes the word salient, which is a nice fancy psychologist word, but you're saying just make it really matter, which I think is what salient really means.
That's exactly right. And so many people think that, oh my gosh, I'm going to set a goal. It feels like it's so ethereal, it's so out there, it's so clinical. Ultimately, a goal is simply what matters to you. It might be, I want to lose 5 pounds by 30 days from now. I want to save $500 in my checking account 2 months from now. Great. You may not feel like those are huge goals, but are they huge goals for you? Well, yeah. And the key is once you set a goal and you tie what's at stake to that goal and you put a deadline to that goal, and then here's the real powerful part. If you're married, share that with your spouse and now you work on it together. But if you're single, share that with an accountability partner and say, look, this is very important to me. I want you to ask me about this on a weekly basis. Well, here's what's funny about this. Nobody ever wants to look foolish to a friend. Even if they don't even want to do the goal or they're totally not self motivated, the fact they will have to answer to a friend asking them about their progress will cause them to make more progress. It's sort of like the person that asked me one time, Derrick, and this is so off topic, but it's a good example. Well, Derrick, should I read my Bible when I don't feel motivated to read my Bible? And I said, well, because in their mind they thought they only should read their Bible if they had a love for reading their Bible. And I said, well, let's ask the question. How often do you go to work when you don't feel like going to work? Well, almost every day. How often do you work out and not feel like you want to work out? Almost every workout. How often do you do a lot of things that you don't want to do, but you do them? Well, the act of reading your Bible is the more you read it, then you develop a love for it. But you can't wait until you love it to start to do it. The bottom line is there's a lot of things in life you just have to do them and know that the act of doing them will cause you to begin to love doing them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's amazing how much you're talking about. You think the answer to becoming a millionaire is just finances and stocks and things like that. Really, it's all about habit. I'll meet a lot of people. They're 6 years old. They'll walk in with $1 million. They'll have all these questions about things like Social Security and health insurance, things like that. I'll show them ways that they can kind of figure that out. And they'll say, thank you. Thanks for helping me. I said, well, you did the hard part. Like the number one thing is just to spend less than you make. And you did that, right? That you had that habit. You've done it for quite some time. You've shared with me a little bit of these millionaire mind maps, the different steps on there, your website. Anyone can become a millionaire.com. How did you come about this concept? Just this thought that, okay, well, yeah, anyone can become a millionaire. How did that come about to you?
Well, I live here in Texas, and there's a quote in Texas that says, big hat, no cattle. And what that means is, as I would work with clients over 25 years, at first, people who I thought looked like millionaires, I discovered weren't. The people that had the fancy car, that lived in the big house, people thought they were wealthy. When they put their documents on my table and asked for my help to figure their life out, I realized they weren't a millionaire at all. They just were acting like one. And I'll tell you a quick story. This was a couple years ago, but I got this magazine in the mail. This had to be 2 weeks ago, Jeremy. And on the cover was this couple promoting their doctor practice. And I realized 10 years ago they had come in my office. And here was the story. They were making $1 million a year, but they had a problem. They were spending over $1 million a year. Okay. And they asked for my help, and I began to go through their documents and so forth. And what I said to them was, I remember this vividly. Would you consider selling the second house? Would you consider cutting the country club membership? And would you consider downgrading the second car from a Mercedes to something else? Thinking I've just solved their problem. I mean, they're going to walk out of here. I'm the hero. And what she said to me shocked me, Jeremy. She said, Derrick, no, we're not going to do that. Because, and what she said next shocked me even more. She said, because if we don't look like we're wealthy, his clients will think his practice is struggling and they'll leave. And for whatever got into me, I said, well, let me ask you this question. How many of your clients or his patients actually go to your house? And she said, well, none of them. And I said, well, how many of them actually see what he drives or see him at the country club? She said, none of them, but it's all how we feel about it. It's all how it makes us look. And what I realized was there's a lot of people out there playing the here's how it makes me look game. And that's a losing game. And so what that story does is it gives people hope that just because people look like they have the $1 million, do not assume that they have the $1 million. They could be in just as much debt as you are. And so what I would tell people is, the good news with money is it takes no specialized skills. It's the great equalizer. As long as you can follow proven principles, just like in your own practice, Jeremy, as you're teaching your own clients, if they follow what you tell them to do, they can be on the path to become a millionaire. As I've created with my own business, anyone can become a millionaire.com. If they follow those 5 steps to become and follow the millionaire money map, they can become a millionaire. Now, will it be easy? No, it's not easy. Will it be hard? Yes, it's going to be hard. Does the coach who wins the Super Bowl or the actor who wins the Academy Award have it easy? No, they work really, really hard. So you are going to work really, really hard. But here's the deal. It's going to be so worth it because you're going to be proud of yourself. When you think about movies, for example, there's always the character in the movie that at the end laments, I wish I would have done this differently. If only I had lived my life better. And they have this gravelly sounding voice. I am anti regret. I think as a financial advisor, really what our title should be is we are the anti regret specialists. We want you to have no regret in your life. So you look back, even if you didn't achieve your goal exactly, you took the progress, you took the courageous move, and you made the moment happen where you decided to pursue your goals. And that's what I want from people. And I think ultimately down deep, that's what most people want for themselves, but they need a guide to help them get there.
Yeah, you've talked about how you were a financial advisor. It seems as if you are no longer a financial advisor right now. Tell me a little bit about that and what led you to that decision.
Yeah. So after 25 years, I loved serving my clients. I loved it, loved my team, but I go on a yearly sabbatical once a year. So in July, I take about 5 days completely by myself. And the purpose is I realized that I personally had a problem. Okay. I'm an A personality. Many people can relate to that. And what I realized was without a plan, I can run really, really fast. But I realized I was running in a circle really, really fast. And that's a problem.
Hmm.
And so every year I go away and I decide what's important to me to focus on that year. And so I think and I pray and I journal and I ask 3 questions. How do I be a better husband? How do I be a better father? And how do I be a better business owner? Okay. And so during that time, it was the morning I was in Boston at the W Hotel. It was July of 2019. And I just felt it was the voice of God telling me, write down what it is that you want to do. So I began to just free flow and write down coach, speak, consult, write a book, build up another form of income, help a lot of people achieve financial success, help teenagers be equipped with money, life, and business skills. I just wrote it all out. Shockingly, on that list was not being a financial advisor. And that's when I knew. I'd felt it for a while that I was sort of going through the motions. I loved my clients, loved my team, but it's sort of that moment where you see your favorite athlete and they hang around a little bit too long. Like if Tom Brady hadn't retired at the peak, the next couple of years that most athletes are like, man, I wish he would have retired. Why didn't he? I didn't want to be that person. I was like, I'm going to go out on top because I felt I owed it to my team, but I owed it to my clients, but mainly I owed it to myself. If I wanted to be the best version of me. And so what I decided to do is I called it Derrick 2.0. This was January of 2020. I decided to sell. I built up a big office across the state of Texas and sold it to a very great advisor who I have a lot of respect for. And I wanted to bet on myself. And so what I decided to do is I love being on television and podcasts. And I do quite a bit of local and national TV. And so I wanted to take this message bigger. And I realized there are so many middle class people who are hardworking. They want to provide for their families. They feel like they're stuck, like the system is working against them. And I said, it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's why I developed this millionaire money map was to take what I helped so many people use to become millionaires that they paid me quite a bit to do it. I want to make that accessible to everyone so they can achieve financial freedom.
Yeah, appreciate you sharing that. It's interesting how you've made a switch. I would call you retired yet. You switched careers,
Yeah.
but I think that's what a lot of people listening are thinking of is they want to retire. They want to create their own version of Derrick 2.0, right? They want to do myself 2.0, whatever it is. And a few things that you really said there stuck out to me. One is that a lot of people feel like they're stuck. I think a lot of times when you're just working your career for 20, 30, 40 years, you feel like you are stuck. Like, okay, this is the only job I can get that pays me this much. I have to do it this way. Um, but then there's a question that you ask yourself, which is, what do you want to do? I think it's a great question for everyone to ask, but especially if you're facing this potential transition into retirement of what do you want to do. I found that a lot of times people say they want to just keep doing the same thing, just without all the baggage behind it. I've got a newer client. He's a doctor, and of course, he had a doctor practice years back, and you end up like everyone ends up selling their doctor practice to the big firm, and it sounds good and it works out well for a while. And then there's like, just the paperwork, right, and the
Right.
requirements and so forth. And he was telling me how he loves his clients. He loves to help all his patients. They're coming to him saying, "You're going to never leave, right?" Well, they're all his age or maybe younger. He's thinking, well, look, I got to leave at some point, but he loves doing it. He just hates all the other stuff. And I said, well, you're in charge here, right? You want to do the doctor work you're doing. Just talk to the big glass tower and say, we got to make a change here. And that's something that's interesting. He knows what he wants, but he's never asked for that before. I saw on your website, I want to link to it, you've got a guidebook, 3 steps to get the raise you want and finally earn the money you deserve. I don't think in
Yes.
his case, and a lot of the people I'm talking to, their case, they don't want the raise or need the raise, but they want to negotiate this thing where they feel like I'm just stuck and the only way out of it is just totally get out of it. And I don't think the solution is that. The solution is maybe figuring out what you want to do and only do that. So what's your advice to this person where he is working, he wants to do the doctor work he loves, he just doesn't want to do all the other stuff he doesn't like, doesn't love at all, probably even hates it. He probably would say he hates it, and he doesn't want to do all the hours, right? He would love to be a
Right.
doctor for 20 hours instead of a doctor for 20 hours and a data entry person for 50.
What I would say is allow yourself to play in the gray. Play in the gray. So much of life is built to be black or white. You've either got this option or this option. For example, when I sold my business, people said, Derrick, how's retirement going? And at
Yeah.
first, it really bristled. I mean, it really irritated me, quite candidly, Jeremy, if we're being
Mm-hmm.
honest. I'm like, dude, I didn't retire. I simply rewired.
Mm-hmm.
I'm rebuilding something brand. I'm working probably harder now than I ever have before, but most people won't understand that. And so, what I would tell people, first of all, is prepare to be misunderstood.
Mm-hmm.
People accept job titles. They understand a business card, they understand the engineer, the doctor, the attorney, the financial advisor. Whatever you do, they understand that. When you step out of that lane, you're causing people to burn brain cells to figure out what you do, and they will often make you feel like you're the oddball because you're not conforming to what everybody else is doing. So begin to accept that, first of all. But what I would tell you is make a list of what it is that you want for yourself. Now, what I'm not telling you is, and Jeremy's not telling you, is sell your practice, quit the job, make this harsh 180. No, all I'm saying is you get one life. And Jeremy is the same way, I believe. We are the anti regret specialists. We want no regret in your life. And so the best way to do that is for you to write down, what is it that I want? And then begin to figure out what's one step to get you closer to what you want. And then what's the second step? Don't do things drastic. Don't go black to white. Play in the gray. Just think about what is one subtle change that you can make that can lead you to a higher level of happiness and purpose that you've always wanted. Do that, and now suddenly you're purposely making decisions that lead you to what you want. And that can also open doors that you didn't know were there, but because you're deliberate and not making these harsh, 180 U-turns, you can find opportunities that you didn't know were there before.
Yeah, appreciate that advice. I'm going to share with him as soon as we get off the recording here. I'm going to tell him, allow yourself to play in the gray, prepare to be misunderstood. I'm going to send him the video when it's ready. But I'm curious for yourself. You made this change, right? It's maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You are the anti-regret specialist. How would you describe your life now? And maybe a second part question, when you do maybe switch over towards calling yourself in retirement, how do you envision that might look like?
Well, first of all, it was a decision that I'm glad I made. And what I will tell you, there's been a couple of key learnings I've had. One is that I built a very, very successful financial planning business. I was a Forbes top advisor, interviewed on Fox News, CNBC, all the different stations on as a money and business expert. So, I mean, I say all that just to provide credibility of I built something really cool. What I learned though was that just because you're successful in one thing does not automatically make you successful in the next venture you pursue. So just realize that don't expect that, man, because I'm wildly successful here, I'm just going to sell this and I'm going to be automatically successful there. What I say to give you a visual is I was a big fish in a small pond. And then when I decided to make that leap, now I feel like I'm a guppy in the ocean. I'm still swimming and I have those skills, but now you're reinventing yourself again. So that's what I've learned. But what I find is that people purchase passion. When you can articulate to people, here are the core problems that I know you have. As a middle class person, I know you feel like you're behind the eight ball. Other people are successful and you're not. Why are other people feel like they have the cheat code and you got left out? Why is the system working against you? All those emotions are normal and they're real, but you can either choose to burn your brain cells to criticize other wealthy people. Well, that's not right. Why are they wealthy and I'm not? Or you can say, I'm going to find a plan to follow and I'm going to be wealthy just like them. And once you make that mental decision that, look, I get one life and I am where I am right now. I think it was Gandhi that said simply be where your feet are today. And I thought that was such a good thing. Just wherever you are, be there. You can't go back and change the rear view. All you have is the windshield in front of you. You can learn what happened in the rear view, but decide right now three financial goals, three personal goals, and now you're on the pathway to creating what you want. And we talked earlier, when you go to gettheraiseyouwant.com, which is the other website that I've got, it's giving people a framework of in the job you are in right now, how can you tangibly go make more money? And not banging on the boss's door demanding the 4% raise that he'll just toss at you to get you out of the office. But really, how can you build value? Because when you add value, you become more valued. But also, shockingly, Jeremy, there are some jobs that you will not make more money at. You could be the best teacher in all of the world, but you are not going to make more money unless every other teacher in your district gets that 4% pay raise. That's just life and it sucks, but you've got a choice to make. Do I want to stay a teacher or do I stay a teacher and launch the side hustle, helping other teachers be better teachers? And now I've got an income source based on what I'm good at. So you've got to make that decision, but start with a list of what it is that you want, then make small progress.
Yeah, that's excellent. Definitely start with what you want. It's funny that you said that you went from big fish, small pond to maybe a guppy in the ocean. My advice to you is from Dory. She said, just keep swimming. I think you're doing it, Derrick.
I love it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. That's
Good.
great.
Well, I've got one more question for you, Derrick. Before that, tell us what's the best way to reach out to you?
Yeah, couple ways. Instagram, we provide daily tips on how to make money and save money at Derrick T. Kinney. Also, we're on LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. But go to the website, anyonecanbecomeamillionaire.com. We produce, I just wrote several yesterday, we produce a weekly, I call it the Millionaire Insider newsletter. And it's just simple, practical ways that you can make and save more money. And we're helping a lot of people escape the middle class and taste what it's like to be a millionaire by getting on the pathway to financial freedom.
Yeah, excellent. I'll link to that, the anyonecanbecomeamillionaire.com. And of course, once you become a millionaire and you're afraid of making big retirement mistakes, go ahead right now, click that subscribe button so you can avoid those retirement mistakes. You don't want to go backwards once you get there, right?
I love that. Yes.
Good. Well, final question for you, Derrick. Tell us something about yourself that few people know about. And remember, this podcast is rated clean.
I'll tell you just a quick story. This was impactful for me. I was elected student body president at my college, the University of Texas at Arlington, and our wheelchair basketball team won the national championship. And whenever you win a national championship in college, you typically go to the White House. And so the plans were made. I was able to talk my way into escorting the team as a, quote, representative of the students. And a man named Bill Clinton was the president then. And I learned something from him that day that I think about probably every day. We're in the White House, he's greeting everybody, looking people in the eye, shaking hands, and he said, Derrick, I'm so glad you're here. We're glad to have you with us today. That was it. But in those moments, in those probably 5 seconds, he made me feel like I was the one person in his entire universe. And what it taught me was when you can give people even 5 seconds of undivided, focused, your best attention ever with your eyes, where they can sense that you are all in on them, they will remember that for the rest of their lives. And it's one of the best ways to build a trustworthy relationship with any client. I've used it, I talk about it in my talks now, my speeches, I've used it to build a business. But those 7 seconds changed everything for me in terms of how I think about relating to other people.
Yeah, appreciate you sharing that. Appreciate you giving us your undivided attention so that we can learn how to become going from middle class to millionaires. Thanks for coming on the show, Derrick.
My pleasure. Thank you, Jeremy. It's been fun.
Yeah, it has been a lot of fun. Absolutely. And thank you for listening to the Retirement Reveal podcast. We believe if you know more about your money, you will feel better about your money and you will make better money decisions. Hi, I'm Jeremy Keil with the Keil Financial Partners. If you'd like to see how we help our clients get more income, pay less in taxes, and avoid big retirement mistakes, head on over to keilfp.com. That's KEILFP.com.